Hi guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm Marilyn and my channel is Making with Marilyn. Now I bought my first laser back in 2020, so I've used lasers for several years now. In addition to that laser, I've used at least 6 additional lasers. Today's going to be no different. We're going to try out the xTool M1 Ultra laser. The reason it is called Ultra is not only does it have lasering functions, but it has pen functions. It has blade functions. We're going to talk about the functions here in just a little bit. xTool did send this to me, but everything that I say in this video is my opinion. Now, I was out of town when the laser showed up, but as soon as I got home, I was ready to unbox it. I will say xTool packages their things very well. They're very secure, very sturdy. When I unboxed it, I lifted it and some styrofoam out of the box. It's not super heavy. And I had to remove packing from the inside, as well as I think there were 3 shipping screws. Basically, that just keeps everything secure in shipping. Once I removed the packing and those screws, I was ready to get started. So I added the optional riser base and I put together what's called the triangular prism system. You'll see that later in the video. After that, I did a few practice cuts and I was ready to go. Now, typically in my videos, I like to teach you how to do something from start to finish. So this video is a little different for me in that I'm just going to show you some of the features of this machine and I'm going to show you 4 things that I used it on. They're not complete projects. Really, it's just to show you the options that you have with this laser. Now, the thing that I was the most uncomfortable about or the most anxious about was there's no camera in this laser. A lot of lasers have a camera inside the laser. That camera takes a picture of the laser bed and it communicates it to the software. That lets you know where to place your items and where to place your design. This laser instead uses a precision point system. I was nervous about it. The software walked me through it. It really was very easy to learn, and you're going to see me use that over and over in this video. I'm not going to show the software in this video, but you're going to see me using that system and I'll talk about it. But the software does walk you through every step of it. So let's step over to the laser. Let me show you the various functions it can work with, the modules it has. Let's just go. You'll understand more when we get over there. Now, once I unpacked the M1 Ultra, I took the packing out, I took the shipping screws out, and they look like this. And you're going to have signs in there that tell you where they are and that you need to remove them. This is what it looks like. You have your removable base plate, and this square is where you put down your cutting mats. When you get it, it has this one fixed module in here. Now, this fixed module is for pins, and you get a lot of pins with this. You also get an adapter. And then you can also use the fine point blade in the fixed module. Here's the fine point blade, and it looks similar to one that you'd use in a Cricut or a Silhouette. When you're using the fine point blade, you would use the blue mat in here. That's the light grip mat. And then when you use the rotary cutter, which I'll show you later, you would use this pink mat. But these mats stick down to the base plate, and then the top is sticky also. That way it holds your materials. In addition to the fixed module where you can use your pins and your fine point blade, you have an area here where you can put in some quick swap modules. Let's talk about what modules are available. First and foremost, you have your laser module. Mine came with a 10 watt, but they have a 20 watt also that you could order instead. These slip into this. Here's the back side, and they go in very easily. They just slide down in, and then you press them into place. Once you've done that, you use this lever right here and you lock it into place. Very easy to do. So this is a 10 watt laser. You would use it to cut wood, to engrave on wood. You could cut some natural leathers with that. You can even cut dark acrylic. So opaque black acrylic for sure, and some other dark opaque acrylics. One thing about a diode laser is you cannot cut or engrave on clear acrylic, and even translucent acrylics you're probably not going to be able to use this laser on. So to remove it, you just lift the lever and then slide this up. Another module you can use on this is the inkjet module. I call it the print module also. This is the only module that you have to actually plug into the machine. And I'll talk a little bit more about how this shows up during the video. But just like the other one, this slides down into place. You plug it into the side, and then you use that lever to lock it down. Now, when you're using the inkjet module, you'll have this little tool that slides right down here, and you can actually leave that in place. So I'm just going to leave it in place. It has a pad of paper, and it also has a frame where the base of the print module goes. I'll demonstrate that during the video. For printing, I've only printed on wood so far. I don't see the need to print on paper or sticker paper. I'll use my regular printer for that. But I do like the fact that you can print on wood, but you're going to see later, when it prints on wood, you're going to get a rustic look. So it's not like printing on white paper or sticker paper. It is rustic. But on some wood projects, that might fit your needs. Then lastly, there's this multifunction module. This is going to be used for a few different things, and I believe they're going to come out with some more things in the future. But what you can use in this for now is a foiling tip tool. I'll show you this in the video. A knife blade. This is for thicker things than what the fine point blade will work on, but things that aren't laser safe. So I could see using this on chrome tan leather, because chrome tan leather, from what people say, should not be used in laser. It has chemicals in it that can be released. But you can use a knife blade on it. Now the last tool that I have that can be used in this module is a rotary blade. This is primarily for fabric, and with the machine you do get a fabric grip mat to use. Now for laser projects, you're either going to use these triangular prisms, and you put them in this frame that you put together. That holds your wood or whatever you're lasering off the base plate. You want the airflow under it. Or if you get the riser base, which you can't really see, but you'll see it a little bit in the video, it comes with a honeycomb tray. And so this is what I would primarily use when I'm doing lasering projects. The reason is I'd like to keep the dirt and the grime from lasering projects off this base plate, because this base plate is what I'll use to stick my mats down to and to do my cutting projects. The first project that I'm going to do is one where I'll use the base plate. Now the module that's in right now will accommodate different tools, but I have a foiling tip in it right now. So I take the light grip mat, it is sticky on the bottom and the top, lay it down on the base plate, then I'm going to put some dark blue cardstock on top of that. I thought foiling would show up really well on something dark, so that's why I picked that color. I have the gold foil that I got from xTool, and then I'm going to tape that down on all four sides. No matter what machine you're using, if you don't tape down your foil on all four sides, there's a good chance that the foiling tip is just going to drag it around. So be sure and tape that down really well. To tell the laser where to process the design, you put the crosshairs in the top left corner of the area you want to use, press the white button on front, then move it to the bottom right corner of what you want to use, press that white button again. Now we're ready to process this. To process it, you push that silver button on front. Now this machine walks you through everything. You pick your materials, you pick what you want to do, whether that is to engrave, to score, to cut, to use the foil tip. It comes up with the settings for you. Now you can change those settings if you find something works better for you, but for my very first projects, I just went with the settings that it defaulted to. It's very easy to use. All right, let's go ahead and take this foil off and see how it turned out. That actually looks good. Now I do see that there's a little bit of foil and dirt or something over there to the left. And actually, after I showed this to you, I took it and I wiped it on my shirt to wipe that off, and it looked really good. But here's what it looks like right out of the machine. I thought it turned out great. For my second project, I decided I wanted to do a wood project. And for that, I removed the base plate. There's a couple of screws in the front. You just unscrew those screws. Now, I stored my screws in the little cubby hole that they provide for you. And then there's some little handles that you can grab onto to lift it out. Also, I had my honeycomb plate stored below. So I just took that out and put it up here on top. Now you have to use a different module for this. The last one used that foiling tip. Now I'm going to use the laser module. This is a 10-watt laser module, and these modules change in and out really easily. I did want to show you there's this little tip here. When you're figuring out the height of your material, that tip goes down, touches your material, and comes right back up. You place your module in, and then you lock it down. Once again, I started what's called marking my material. Then I decided I wanted to use a different area of the material, so I flipped it around. To mark your material, which just means you're telling the laser where to process, you go to that top left corner with the crosshairs, press the white button on front, go to the bottom right corner, press the white button on front, then the machine knows exactly where you want your image to process. Once the machine figured out the height of the material, it was telling me that I could go ahead and press the start button because the blue light was flashing. So I press that silver start button and the laser starts processing. What I'm doing now is a pair of earrings, and these earrings took about 4 minutes to process. Not too bad, but it is slower than a CO2 laser, which I typically use. Go ahead and punch these out. And the second one was stuck just kind of at the bottom area. You'll see in a minute I had to reprocess it. Other than that, and I think that was something in the wood, this cut really nicely. There's the first one. Now, there is some charring on the front of this. If you had the air assist, which I don't, but if you had the air assist, I assume that would turn out better. But I honestly can't tell you that because, again, I don't have the air assist. But in other lasers I've used the air assist, and you get a nice result from having it. So I'm just going to go ahead and press out the rest of these pieces. They aren't stuck in there for lack of being cut. It's just small pieces kind of get wedged in there, and the angles that you have to push them out are a little bit awkward sometimes. It did cut really well. Now on this last one, it didn't cut all the way through. Let me show you the back side so you can see what I'm talking about. See, there's an area down there that didn't cut at all, and even on the bottom it didn't cut very well. So I think there must have been a knot or something like that in that wood to prevent it from cutting really well. I tried to get this out, tried to force it out. In the end, it just didn't look great, and so I went ahead and reprocessed this earring. Just like with every other cut or every other thing that I do on here, I had to mark the area where I wanted it to cut out. So I put the crosshairs in the top left area that I wanted to use, pushed that white button on front, moved it to the bottom right of the area that I wanted to use, pressed the white button again, then we're ready to close the lid and finish out this project. Once the machine was ready to cut, a blue light on the front flashed, and then I could press that silver button. This earring took about 2 minutes to cut out, not too bad. But again, you're going to see that there are some scorch marks on the front. And as I said before, I assume that is from not having the air assist. I'll knock all these parts and pieces out, and then I'm ready to put these earrings together. Now here's the back, cut much better this time. In the end, it did its job. Here's the earrings. They're ready for some hardware. So for my next project, I decided I wanted to do what everybody's talking about, and that is to print on wood. So I had to take the laser module out. You flip the little lever up, pull the module out. And then here's the printer module. Now when I got it, this little cord was tucked inside there. You had to remove the front, pull the cord out, and then you had to put the ink cartridge in. I'm just going to slide this down into place till it clicks. And then this is the only module, at least so far, that you have to plug into anything. After you add the module, you have to make sure you put this little lever down. Now, I thought I was going to do this job on my honeycomb. Then I realized you cannot print on top of the honeycomb. And that's because there's certain things in the base plate that work with this printer module. So I went ahead and I put the base plate back in. Then I added in the triangular prisms that have their own little frame for this machine. And I moved where each triangular prism was to provide more support on that left side. Now this is a little pad of paper. The print module is going to come over to that pad of paper. It's going to print just one little line, and then it's going to be ready to use. Also, there's a little frame here that the base plate of your print module goes on. Let me go ahead and show you that. So you take this base plate off, and you set it right over here in the frame. After this module prints, it's going to go down there and it's going to add that base plate back automatically. You have to always have that base plate on when you're not using it. Otherwise, your ink is going to dry out really quickly. Now, I didn't think that the wood was getting great support, so I moved those triangular prisms around just a little bit more, and then I was happy with it. Like the other projects, I mark the left top corner of what I want to process. Press the white button on front. Move the crosshairs to the bottom right corner of the area that I want to use, and press that white button again. That lets the machine know exactly where it's going to process your design. So I press the silver button, and basically what happens is the print module comes up to that white pad. It puts a little ink down to make sure it's flowing right. Then it goes back to the home position and it starts to print. Now the printer is slow. This image took just over a minute to print. And of course it is printing on wood. It's not on white, so it's going to have a little bit of a rustic look. So the module moves back up to that front right area. The cap attaches to it, and then it goes back to the home position. Now, in my case, it bumped into the wood. Your wood has to be very, very thin, and it needs to be pretty even. And in this case, that print module, or the base plate of the print module, caught the wood. So we're going to have to do this over. To keep that from happening again, I'm going to go ahead and leave the base plate outside of the machine. I'm not going to have that module pick it up when I'm done. But you have to remember to put it back, or again, your ink is going to dry. So I go ahead and mark the area that I want to use, tell the software I'm ready to go, and then press that silver button. So again, the print module goes over, lays down a little ink, and then goes back up and prints where it's supposed to. This time when the print module went back down to pick up that base plate, it wasn't there, but it didn't know it, so it went back to its home position. Now, I can't stress enough. I know I've already said it twice, but you have to put that base plate back on or your print module is going to dry out. So I'm going to unplug it, lift the lever, pull this out, and we're going to make sure we get this base plate on right now. That's all there is to it. The second step for this project is to cut it out. So I'm cutting a little hole in it that you could put some twine in to hang this, and then I'm cutting a circle around it. So I added the laser module back, popped it into place, and then put that lever down into place as well. The laser module went down until that little silver tip touched the material. That's how it measures the height of the material. And then it cut out the little circle, and then it moved on to the larger circle. With a diode cutter, when you're cutting wood, you have to go rather slowly. These were the settings provided by xTool, and because you do have to go a little bit slowly with the diode laser, you do get that charring on front. So I would either need to figure out how to mask my material so that you don't have that, or get that air assist. And like I said also before, I'm not sure if the air assist would keep this from happening because I don't have it to try. But one thing I could try without a lot of money is to use some masking material. Now the print turned out okay. It is going on wood. Wood is a porous surface, and so it allows the ink to kind of spread out a little bit, and it's not a perfect print. You are going to use this on wood if you want something that looks a little bit rustic. Moving on, I decided I wanted to see how this would work with black acrylic. Diode lasers will not cut clear acrylic. They will cut dark opaque acrylic, and so I'm going to try it with the black acrylic. Typically, I would have used my honeycomb tray because I really want to try to keep this base plate as clean as possible. I don't think that lasering and cutting vinyl and foiling on cardstock all belongs really on the same base plate. So unless I'm using that print function when you have to use the base plate, if I'm using the laser, I will probably always use that honeycomb tray. I just forgot to this time. The black acrylic cut out. The pieces came out fine. I'm really happy with these earrings. Except I forgot to poke out the little tiny hole in the center where the hardware goes, so I'll go ahead and do that. Now that I've had some time to work with this machine and you've seen it in action, let's talk about some of the things I like about the machine, as well as some things that I don't like so much. First of all, it is an xTool product. xTool packages their things very well. In my opinion, they have good quality built products, and they use Creative Space software. Creative Space software is very easy to use, it's intuitive, and it leads you through your projects. Second of all, this machine has a lot of functionality. So if you're looking for an all-in-one machine that you can use with vinyl, with cardstock, with HTV, with foil, with wood, this might be the machine for you. For some people, that's going to be a plus. However, for some people, it won't. For example, I already own cutters, I have printers, and so for me to spend the extra money on those functions probably doesn't make a lot of sense. In my case, spending that money on a laser dedicated machine probably makes more sense. I'm also not a huge fan of having the dirty atmosphere of a laser be the same place where I'm working with cardstock or cutting HTV. You might feel differently, that's just my opinion. I also feel like the working space of this machine is a little bit small, especially for the non-lasering functions. Compared to a cutting machine where you can usually cut up to 2 feet long or even longer, being limited to 11.8 inches by 11.8 inches, I think that's a little bit small. Lastly, and it has nothing to do with the quality of this diode laser, but it is a diode laser. Diode lasers have become really popular because they are budget friendly, but they do have limitations and you need to be aware of that before you spend your money on a diode laser. So after watching the video, what do you think about this machine? Is this something that's right for your craft room? I hope you've enjoyed the video. If you did or you learned something new, please give me a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider doing that. If you do subscribe, make sure you tap that bell and select the all notification. That way YouTube lets you know anytime I upload new content.